Jay would outdo Kenyon at what Jay does well, and Kenyon probably is better than Jay at what he does well. So I don't think it's necessarily playing better. He's just a different guy, and he's going to have those big strikes that and Jay had his share too, but Jay was a physical guy, but Kenyon's a fast kind of a bounce, He's got what he does is really special when he gets rolling. That run he made for the touchdown, which was an inside run, but it was still kind of his style with a lot of 5 moves in a 2-yard area right there, and then comes out of it, squirts out of it for a touchdown is big. That's he's really special at that kind of thing.
Aside from the fumbles, would you give him high marks in all other areas aside from the 2 fumbles?
Protection. I think he's still got a ways to go protection wise and ball protection wise. And then as I always say to you, he's got to prove he can do it. After you've started 10 games. Let's see if you're still doing it in January. And on frozen fields and below zero temperatures, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a long way to go before we start to making the bust of him quite yet, but we're up to a good start.
Gase said yesterday that with Kenyon Drake back there, it's a little different for the offensive lineman, because of its lateral quickness. Is it an adjustment for the offensive lineman?
I think it is. Yeah, I do think it is. Those guys have a different style, and I think it is. And just like it's when you have different quarterbacks in there, it's a different thing. So we've really stressed playing hard, finishing blocks. Jay in the pocket, Kenyon with the ball. The other thing that he makes it unique that all of a sudden an inside play goes around the corner, and that's where your holding calls come. So there's a lot of factors that go into it. You're all of a sudden you're blocking the thing, and you think he's going up off my left hip here, and then all of a sudden so I got my guy locked out, and all of a sudden he runs around the right corner and he starts to leave, and I thought the ball's going, now all of a sudden I got to make sure that I don't grab hold to restrict him. And there's a lot of things that go on, and it makes it interesting for him, but it is different. It is different. Jay, you kind of knew where he was going to hit it, and you just start bulldozing and pushing piles. This guy, you really, it can go anywhere.
Are you seeing anything different from Julius Thomas in recent weeks?
Yeah, some production. I think the production's been different and up a little bit, and I think that would be the biggest thing. I think he's kind of getting in a little bit of a stride, and Coach Gase has done a good job getting it to him and giving him some good opportunities, and so I think that's encouraging.
We always hear about how Belichick takes one thing away. What did he do last time, and how do you adjust to that in game?
Yeah, they've always done a great job there, and they're gonna double Jarvis. They're gonna take away what you're doing well and make you try and beat them left-handed. That's what they've always done, and they'll do it a lot of different ways, and so you never really have a bead going into the game. I think I've said that to you before that they do a great job of being one of the best fundamentally sound, one of the best fundamentals, leverage, hands placement. They're one of the best teams if not the best team in the league. It's consistent that way, and then their change-ups don't compromise their technique. That they'll do it a lot of different ways. They're a good man coverage team. Now they may double, the 2 inside guys. They could double anyone they want to, but their techniques are what is really, really good. So you focus on their scheme, and you try and have good plays for their scheme, and the next thing you know, you forgot that we got to beat press coverage, and so they make you do things well, and that'll be a great challenge. So
if they take Jarvis, or if they choose to take Jarvis away, do you force it to him? Because I think he was 7 for 80 last game.
Sometimes sometimes it happens that way. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes that's a little bit of a That's a teach. When do you stay with the guy being doubled? There are some routes where you have a chance to win even though you're doubled. That Jarvis is just going to win anyway. There's somewhere you got to go, hey, hooray for them. They took them away. Let's move on, and someone else has got to win. So it's both of the above, and you don't know when that's going to happen. So some routes you feel good about, some routes you don't. Sometimes they're tight coverage, sometimes they're loose coverage, and the double comes from up top above, and You know, sometimes it's from underneath and from the line of scrimmage when those backers coming out. You know, so it happens a lot of different ways. And so I think what they do a great job of is making you make your adjustments during the game and during the game that they're not going to do exactly what they've done the last 5 games, and you got to beat on them and you scheme everything up for it, and and then they do it just exactly like you schemed it up. You got to be ready to be on the sideline making some adjustments.
What ways do you see Kenny Stills work to get even better, and in what areas? I mean, he got paid, but it seems like he still puts in the.
No, I think he's got some momentum. I think he's becoming really, really one of the good receivers in this league, and he just keeps working. I think the biggest thing, which no surprise, he's healthy. He stays on the field. He gets his practice time. That's the best thing, right? If you're on the field and you work, you're going to get better, and that's in any field. That's coaching. That's whatever. You just do it every day, and you come to work every day, and you work at getting better. You tend to get better at whatever you do, whether it's writing articles or coaching football or playing receiver. That just kind of holds true, and that's what he's done the best thing of. He's been working. He's been really consistent. I've said to you before that when I got here, he was in this building. He'd made a conscious decision. Hey, I'm gonna be a consistent football player. And his words to me was, I've been good at times, but I've been up and down. And I think 2 years ago he made a commitment that I'm going to be a consistent, steady, upper echelon receiver in this league, and I really think that the sky's the limit. He's a fast guy, but he's not just a big play guy. His technique's good. He's running good routes. He's made catches this year that have been outstanding. The one last week on the low ball was one of the 3 or 4 best I've ever seen in my life. That was a great catch, and so he's doing those things, which maybe he didn't do as much last year, and so I think he's becoming a well-rounded, good worker. The other thing I've said we're dying for guys who you can say, hey, do it like him, work like him, act like him, and that's what we dying for leadership-wise, offensively. Just some guy, hey, he's turned into a heck of a pro, and where you say, hey, you want to get better? Watch Kenny Stills. Watch how he works. Watch how he takes care of his body. Watch what he does on Tuesday on off days. Watch what he does after practice. Watch him during practice, and he's becoming that kind of guy. So that's been great. It's been fun to watch, and he's turned into a really, really fine receiver.
It's been a couple of weeks since the last meeting with New England, but is that enough time to see any differences in their defense, any different areas that you can maybe?
It really isn't. It just kind of it's weird. It's kind of a weird deal, and but it's both ways. But we've played them so many times, and you see them twice a year, and now you see them twice in 3 weeks. You know what they do, you know what you have to do, but it doesn't make it easier to beat them. It's still hard work to beat them, and they do a good job, and they'll have their wrinkles, and we'll try and have a wrinkle or two, but at the end of the day, it'll come down to block. If we can block them, and if they can tackle us, and if we can beat man coverage, and if they can cover us, and if we can protect our quarterback, and if they can, it'll come down to the same basic things in football, and that it kind of takes some of the scheming and all that stuff out of it, and it just makes it more about the fundamentals and who gets themselves ready and plays longer, harder, longer.
I noticed it. I said something to him about 2 weeks ago. Like to say, hey man, don't think I don't notice. Like you're the only guy up, or not the only guy, but you're the loudest guy for sure, and the most energetic guy up, watching us play defense and rooting for our side of the ball. So he's taking a lot of strides there.
Matt, can you share with us maybe something you learned the first time against the Patriots, calling defensive signals against them for the first time?
Something I learned. I think it was just, and really an emphasis for myself going into the game, that you have to be quick with the calls. You have to get them out to them. They're going to, even if they're changing personnel groups and not necessarily going no huddle, they probably are the best in the league and with Brady and everything in terms of breaking the huddle, getting up and running their plays. So like, for myself, it was a point of emphasis to get the call to the defense so they could get their eyes back to the offense. So as they broke the huddle, they kind of were able to line up and play. So, that was sort of something going into the game that was a point of emphasis for me, was like, man, I want to make sure that I don't slow our defense down by being slow with the calls. So I really had to for me, I want to be even more on my game in terms of getting a huddle call out quick and anticipating what I wanted to get into, so those guys could get the call and get their eyes back to the offense and be ready to go. So I felt like for the most part, they do a good job. Obviously, they roll personnel groups. They throw a lot of different things at you, and they, kind of pace the game. They'll kind of just be normal. Then they'll get up on you. Then they'll pull it back, and they play that game. So I felt actually personally that I didn't feel like getting the calls out and kind of getting the huddle call was an issue, which I felt like that was important for me to give our guys the best chance to compete.
No Gronk Monday night. How does that impact your game planning?
Yeah, obviously he's a great player. The thing that's hard is even if Gronk's playing, this is a team that game plans every game you play against them, and they're going to change personnel groups, and not to sound like a total idiot, but if anything, it almost creates a little bit of more uncertainty. Obviously, if Gronk's playing, he's going to be involved, and he's a factor that you have to account for. They're always like this when you prepare for a team like the Patriots, but even more so now, it's like, man, there's, you don't know what they're going to throw at you, really. They could come out and run unbalanced for the first 20 plays, or they could go, empty personnel. They could go 3 running backs. You don't know. There's a little bit even more uncertainty. We always approach it like that, hey, we're going to have to be ready for anything, between personnel groups and formational and things and what they're doing. So obviously, he's a great player and he's having another great season. And so taking him off the field, just lessens some of the matchup issues you have. Obviously, we have to account for him. But sort of the flip side of it is it creates a little bit more uncertainty in terms of groups they're going to use and some of the ways they're going to attack us. So it's an interesting sort of approach to what we're going to see here.
Matt, what do you hope that Bobby McCain takes from his first meeting with the Patriots in terms of the lessons learned?
Yeah, I think it's not just Bobby, really. It's everybody, and you guys have been around Bobby. He's a competitive kid, and he's feisty, and that's just something we know that they're going to try to do. They're going to try to get under your skin, and it's always been that way. And those guys are going to try to give him a little, just sort of let him know they're there and try to irritate him a little bit. So that's fine. We just have to keep our composure. And he understands kind of what went on and how that kind of came to be. And I think we've moved past that. I think Bobby has. I think. Bobby's been playing really well this year for us and having a great season, and he knows we need him on the field. So I think it's just the awareness of hey, that stuff doesn't matter. If someone gets a little extra bump on you, or if someone's holding you a little bit longer than normal, or someone talks a little trash to you, that's fine. We're expecting those things to happen, and we just can't respond to it, and we just got to go out and play ball and execute our calls. And I think Bobby will be ready to have a good game for us.
Is there any concern that if Tank actually plays, that him not being 100% would sort of make him a target for Brady?
Yeah, everyone's a target for Brady. We wouldn't. We wouldn't put. If we make the determination that Tank's going to play for us, it's because we think he's healthy and ready to play a real game for us. So we're not going to put him out there if we feel he's, him dealing with whatever injuries and stuff he's trying to fight through is going to affect the play. We'll have other options for that. So, no. I would assume probably if he does play that they're going to test him out, but that's just what they do anyways. They just try to find matchups, and whether it's a running back on a linebacker or a receiver on what they think is a less than 100% DB or whatever, or Gronk on somebody, those type of things. So they're going to find the matchups they want. That's what their plan of attack is always. So, we're not going to make that decision unless we feel that he's capable of competing for us.
When you see or notice a guy, over the years Brady always finds a target. When you see or notice a guy who's being picked on him by him, does that go into your thought process, coaching-wise or schematically?
Yeah. Again, I think when you try to boil down what this team tries to do to you, and that, for us, that's what it's about. They try to find matchups that they can take advantage of. So for us, it's trying to not, try to keep the matchups in our favor as much as possible. So whether it's moving different personnel groups or moving people on, bodies on bodies that we like better in terms of certain specific, skill sets or matchups for us. Or just trying to keep the target moving, hey, it may look like this is a matchup you like, and the next play we're playing something different. That's just the game you have to play with them. They're gonna, try to put as many, players on the field that they think are positive matchups for them and find the one that they like the best and go to it. So, our job is to try to take those matchups away as best possible. And, you can't take them all away, so whether it's either changing the target and changing the matchups, play to play, series to series, or, just coaching up. Hey, like, we have to tell our guys, like, you got to know, hey, if you're lined up against this guy, like, that's probably where they're going, and you got to win that down for us, and we'll help you out the next down, or we'll change it the next down, but we can't, protect everybody. Someone's got to go win some matchups for us.
To McCain, to see him kind of lose his composure like that, is that, am I right that that's uncharacteristic?
It is. Mm-hmm. Yes, you're right.
So, do you expect that he's going to be tested?
I would assume.
They've seen now that.
Yeah, and I think any team, not just that's just the Patriots. I mean, any time that you show as a player, not just Bobby, but any player that you show susceptibility to that, like, people are going to test you. Just anything, or in matchups, right? Someone says, "Hey, man, he's susceptible to, he's given up a lot of plays on this specific route, or he's done this." Like, they're going to test you and find out if you've corrected that, if you're still going to, go angry and react to things. I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, they're going to test it, so he'll be ready. He'll be fine. Bobby's going to play a good game for us on Monday.
How would you evaluate how Werner did when he came in against Denver?
Oh, yeah, he did a good job, man. Again, I mean, that was, something obviously we preach in terms of guys being prepared, and Tank, essentially went down the first play. He kind of went back in and tried to fight it out for a couple plays and kind of couldn't keep it going for us. So, I mean, I can't remember the exact number. Vern ended up playing 45 snaps for us or something. Did a really good job, man. I mean, he's an ultimate pro. I mean, there's been times during the season where, we've kind of had him, told him, hey, I think you might be up this time, or you might be doing this, and then he even didn't get to play, and he's been steady through the whole thing. He prepares like a pro. He's always ready to play, and he stepped in and competed and did a really good job for us.
What were some of the things that the secondary did much better against the Broncos than in previous games?
I caught the ball, right? That's something we've been talking about. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I wish I could bottle that up. I mean, it's, honestly, I'll give Adam a little bit credit, like some of the things he's done in practice in terms of just stressing, like really like putting emphasis on getting our hands on balls and attacking things. And so, I mean, and we've talked even, with a guy like X, for example, who, I felt has been playing good coverage, and that was, that final step he had to take. And so now he's getting 5 pass breakups and catching the ball and obviously doing those things. So, I think obviously just taking the step of finishing those plays, of not just being in pretty good coverage or not just kind of being in good coverage and still allowing catches, that for us to finish those plays and obviously to get our hands on a few picks, and then obviously to break up a bunch of passes. I mean, that was something, I mean, we stress it all the time, but it's kind of just been a team-wide thing. I mean, I think, from Adam's side of things, like his stress is not turning the ball over. So he's been emphasizing, even for the scout team guys, like, hey, man, make us better, like attack the ball, like strip it, go after it, and, in practice. And then, us from the same side. So as a team-wide thing, it's become, I think, just more of an emphasis. I mean, just a truly like, hey, man, like we have to protect the ball on offense and we have to attack the ball on defense. And so I think that's just those sort of the fruits of those labors are starting to show.
Aside from getting a victory, how do you know when you've done a good job defending Tom Brady?
I'll take a victory, man. That'll be enough for me. So, look, I mean, he's a great quarterback and one of the greatest of all time, and he's going to make his plays. I mean, I don't think anyone in the building expects, him to go 0 for 25 and with 7 picks. I mean, so he's going to make some plays. We measure everything by wins and losses. I mean, that's how we're judged. That's how we should be judged. So, if we make enough plays on him to win the game, I mean, obviously, if he goes 30 for 31 with 8 touchdowns, we're probably not going to win the game. So, I mean, whatever measure of success leads to, us, getting stops, getting off the field, trying to, limit his success as much as possible. And a win's a win, man, so we'll take it however it comes.
Matt, what was the skill with Malvo that intrigued you guys? Is he stout against the run? What made you want to take a look at him these last few weeks?
Yeah. He's a big body for a defensive end for us, kind of a little different body type than we have. He has been destroying the offense in practice, and really getting after them. He does everything right. I mean, I know the cliche of like being the first one in. I mean, he literally is the first person sitting in the meeting room like every morning waiting for stuff to start. But yeah, just in terms of skill set, I mean, he's a big, long kid that is tough against the run, sets edges for us. Even as a rusher, he's not going to be super fancy, but he does, a good job in terms of long arming with his length and speed to power and trying to just collapse the pocket and push guys, which, is a benefit for us with our other guys that can do some things in the rush game. So, I mean, those type of things. And a little bit with, losing a guy like Will Hayes that provided sort of some of that same element for us. We felt that was kind of a nice compliment to kind of fit him back in. Will did some of those things in terms of the run game and just power rushing and those things. So, we just felt it was a kind of a nice chance to get him up and give him an opportunity to go play. And he responded. He had about 30 to 35 snaps and did a really good job for us.
And with X's improvement, is it just the natural improvement of a young player, or did Lou or you point out anything specific to him that's been a change in technique? What's led to these last 3 weeks of high-level cornerback?
Yeah, I'd like to take credit for that. I don't think I will. You can ask Lou about his cornerback whisperer techniques, but I think X has been in good coverage. Most of the year, I think X has been in really good coverage, and I think just again the emphasis on finishing those plays and that's the next step. That was always the next step for him, and I think again I feel we forget. He had somewhat of a lost season last year with all the injuries and the limited time. And so, as a young corner, I mean, some of the growing pains we went through or have been going through with Tank, X didn't get as much experience as Tank has got this year as a rookie. You know what I mean? So early in the season, I think X was still sort of developing through that rookie experience and those sort of things. And then as the season started progressing, I think he was tighter in coverage and getting closer to what we were asking. And then now, like the last couple of weeks, he's kind of on the next step, and now he's getting the ball out. So I think it's just a natural progression. I mean, again, he's just been working at it, and I think he missed enough time last year that he wasn't, fully experienced through his rookie sort of ups and downs. And, hopefully that this is, him turning the corner and really becoming what we've expected from him.
From, some of the things that we've asked him to do on defense, from things like that. He's a guy that takes, Sundays are, he's getting after the quarterback and doing a great job in the run game, but, he takes a pounding. He's got two bodies on him every time.
I'm sure you've seen by now Tom Brady yelling at Josh McDaniels on the sidelines last week against Buffalo. Does that happen more often than we know, and how do you handle that as a coaching play call?
It does. Happens a lot. You just move on. Takes a minute. It's happened. I went through it with Peyton a couple times.
I was going to ask that.
So, just depends on whether or not cameras catch it or not.
Why does that work for some teams? It seems like that fires them up, but other teams it kind of can make it tough or tear things apart for others.
I think a lot of times it just depends on the situation and relationship you have. And, when you got two people that are very competitive and striving for perfection, it's going to happen every once in a while.
Coach, you asked Clyde this earlier. It's only been a couple of weeks since the first meeting with the Patriots. Is that enough time to look and see if there's been any significant changes on film that you can exploit? Or
It's always going to be. Every week you gain as much information as you can, but when you play these guys, they're going to look at what you do and really try to take away anything that you've shown that you've done well. If you have any tendencies that you've developed, even from, one game, could be, run pass tendency. Maybe we're a heavy one this last game that tips them off or something. So, when you do your homework and go through all the steps, sometimes you might find something that you didn't see the first time.
Is there a greater challenge for a play caller than going up against that defense?
Is it hard to go against this defense?
Against the Patriots defense, for you calling plays, do you look at it as the ultimate challenge, or is it just the same every week?
I've played these guys 12 times in my career. I've called 6 or 7 games against them. So, Matt Patricia knows me pretty well. So it's kind of, that's the challenging part. How much hasn't he seen? You just got to keep trying to find ways to move the ball, and they do a good job of changing things up and showing you different looks, and every year it's different. That's what makes that that whole organization tough to compete against, because they got good players, and at the same time they have really good coaches that make it very tough on whether you're offense, defense, play caller, special teams. They give you enough changes over year to year, and then as the season goes on, they evolve. They figure out where their strengths are, and they really emphasize those and emphasize all the good stuff, and then stay away from the things that they don't do as well.
Are you comfortable with Drake? Sorry, Chris. Are you comfortable with Drake getting 23 carries, or in an ideal world you'd get maybe a little bit less?
For whatever helps us win the game. So, that's really what it comes down to.
Adam, as a play caller, when somebody's trying to take something away from you, whether it's the Patriots or whoever, how do you decide when to force that matchup or when to just say, all right, you got me, we're going somewhere else?
I usually have an idea what's going on going into the game. It's not breaking news to anybody that I'm pretty sure I know who most teams try to take away on the offense. So just try to make it hard on him. Try to keep him, try to keep Jarvis, doing the things he does well, but same time, just don't make him a sitting duck where you line him up in the same spot, play after play after play, and everybody knows where he's at. We made a big emphasis of it this offseason where, I know he's always wants to do more, always wants to be put in different spots, and he's done a good job of learning all those different positions. And, we're just going to keep trying to find ways to get him the ball and get in his hands quickly so he can make some plays after he catches the ball. And, it seems like he's made a lot of plays downfield. I don't know if I gave him enough opportunities last year, where this year, given the opportunity, he's made plays down the field. And unfortunately, probably some of his best plays have been called back because of a penalty on some of those third and longer plays.
How did you do last game against New England? I think 7 receptions for 80 yards, I think, or 8 for 70.
Yeah, he's a tough guy to match up. Even that fourth down, they had him doubled, and he still found a way to find a little bit of a hole. And guy made a great play, just jarring the ball enough loose to where it hit the ground before he could gather that. So, when he gets doubled, he finds a way to get open.
Lining Jakeem Grant up in the backfield, what was the thought process behind that, and is that something that he particularly enjoyed getting the opportunity to do?
We're kind of down on numbers, so there's your Drake answer. They're trying to take a carry off of Drake. We weren't really sure if what was going to happen with Sonoris. He was in this concussion protocol, so we had some other ways to carry the football if we needed to, and thought it looked good all week in practice, so we gave it a shot, and might have been close to whether he cuts it up or we hold on to a block a little longer. It might have been a bigger play.
In what ways has Stills sort of refined, polished his game since he got here? Since you got here?
I didn't have any experience with him before. I always, when I was in Chicago, we had even talked about, trading for him because those guys all knew him from New Orleans. And, he reminded me a lot of the guys that Mart's always had with, a faster guy, can run the deeper intermediate routes down the field and, blow by people. I hadn't really had really fast guys like him. I think Emmanuel might have been the closest to him. So when we came in and he was just, hey, I want to do whatever helps us win, and I want to get better, and said all the right things, and we kept working with him, and he really took to the offense and tried to learn everything about the whole thing and every little detail, and I think it's paid off for him. Now it's he helps other guys. I constantly see him working with the younger guys, and I think that helps him too because it makes him really think of the details of every little thing we do in the offense.
Adam, how was the right side of the line played since Jamon went out with Jesse and Sam?
I think they've been good. They've done a good job, and I think this is as closest as you want to call it chemistry we've had in a while since guys have guys got to practice together and work together, and we've had some good D lines we've had to go against. So, it's been key for us of those guys just working well together.
When you talk about Brandon, when you talk about getting off to a fast start in any game, and specifically against these guys, would it be worth taking the ball if you win the opening coin toss, or is it still, no, we need it?
I don't know. We'll see.
Can you discuss pros and cons again?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we can take the ball. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen. The thing that, if they have the ball to start, we have to do whatever we can to stop them. And if we have the ball to start, we got to try to drive down the field and set up field position or score points, whatever it is.
In the words of Matt Burke, he was talking about Malvo. He said he was destroying the offense. Is that particularly true, or what did you see?
About when he was on scout team? Yeah. I don't want to use those words. It might get me in trouble. But he was doing a really good job. He was making our guys better. He was every day. I asked Cam about it when kind of he was in a role when he first came in the NFL, and he told me Thursdays were my game day. And I wasn't going to slow down for anybody. And he's like, that's how I got better. And I think he's the same way. Every day for him is, because whether it's Wednesday or Thursday, he plays the run tough. He's a big man. He comes off the edge well. He does everything we asked him to do. It was great to see him get an opportunity, especially right away, just jump up and get a play.
Adam, is there anyone else besides Malvo who you've seen on practice squad, or even under 53, like McTyer, a young guy who we haven't seen a lot that's caught your eye in practices?
It's hard for me to separate them all, because these guys work hard. This whole rookie class has done a great job coming in every day. They put their heads down, they work, they try to help, they try to do everything that they're asked to do. I think even some of the veterans, I've appreciated the way that these guys have gone about their business. They've been part of the solution, and no matter what's happened, they don't waver. Sometimes we get some of the younger guys in here, they haven't gone through some of the experiences some other guys have gone, where they've been through some rough seasons, and you get kind of a bad place in this league sometimes if you go through enough of them. And these guys have just constantly just trying to find ways to get better.
Couple more guys. No Gronk for New England Monday night. I asked Matt that earlier. How does that impact your preparation?
Whoever they got up, we'll get ready for, and it doesn't. He's always going to be a big factor in the game when he plays, and when he doesn't, they find ways to move the ball, and that's why Josh is good. He finds ways to take the group he has that's available to him and causes problems and finds the mismatch and puts guys in good position.
Is it too early to tell on Tankersley, or do you have a gut instinct at this point?
I don't know right now. Day to day, Barry.
With Eric Smith coming back practicing, is the vision to eventually see if he can contribute on the 53?
Yeah, we're going to see. We're going to just keep working him, and he did a lot of really good things that we liked. I love how engaged he's been since he's really been hurt. He's just constantly just kept working, and when you see a young guy that's mentally just trying to make sure he doesn't lose any time, because that's really, that's the hard part for some of these young guys. It just starts moving so fast, and you're trying to keep your body right and keep up with what's going on, because as the season goes on, you start kind of evolving, into certain things, and if you're not practicing, it can get tough. And he did a great job of kind of staying up to speed and making sure when he got a chance to jump back out there, he was ready to go.
Thanks, guys.
All right, guys.